mahram or maharim, those who she cannot marry, this is permissible, not a problem. However, for her to do so in the presence of people who she can marry, then it's not good. It's drawing a particular attention to herself. Especially a woman, for example, she doesn't cover her face, she's wearing everything, covering everything but the face and hands, but then she's wearing all these eyeliners and eyeshadow and blush and all these kind of things. We have to consider what is happening here. What is she doing? This eyeliner, all these things, is to accentuate her beauty, to heighten it, and to draw attention towards it. So it's just sort of defeating the purpose of her covering herself. So we say specifically she should not do so unless she's covering her face altogether. In such case, then it would be permissible. Now, the other part of the question, that is, when is it permissible for women to beautify themselves? Well, what stays within means, the means which are set by Islam are permissible as long as they don't, contradict some other principle of Islam. Like a woman may wear a necklace, but if she's not wearing a scarf, she's exposing herself, and the wearing of this necklace becomes a means of attraction, of attention to herself, her Muslim area. So Islam would forbid it, But if she's wearing it in her home, in the presence of her father, etc., people who she cannot marry, then it is permissible. So this is the general guideline that we use. When outside the home, her beauty should be hidden. When inside the home, then it may be exposed. Okay, the next question we have, can you state any verse in the Quran where Allah says that His throne is above the heavens, or that any approved or any scholar of hadith which are approved said it? Well, this is so well known. So many verses in the Quran, from Surah Al-Baqarah, right in the very beginning of the surah, where Allah speaks about, that He created the heavens and earth, for us. ثم استوى إلى السماء فسواهن سبع سماوات وهو على كل شيء قدير. That He then set Himself above the heavens and is able to do all things. Now, the idea of Allah's throne being above the heavens, we have also in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 255, which is known as the verse of the throne, more properly rated the verse of the footstool, that Allah says, وَسِعَ كُرْسِيُّهُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ, that the government covers the heavens and the earth. And this is the footstool. The footstool in relationship to the throne itself is like, a small iron ring throne in a desert. So we're talking about something very, very, very massive, and it's above the heavens. And there are hadiths which also talk about, the overall structure of the universe, and then it is mentioned that the throne is above the heavens. Further question concerning the Quran. Assalamu alaikum, dear Dr. Bilal. Where the Quran challenges people to produce a verse like it, we see Orientalists and Christians claiming to have made many verses like the Quran. How can we judge whether it is the Quran or not? Whether it is the Quran or not. For example, like small verses like Surah Al-Falaq and Nas, etc. Well, the point is that the attempts to imitate the Quran have failed. These attempts had their greatest chance in the time of the Prophet Muhammad himself. To defeat his whole mission, message, all the Quraysh or the pagans had to do at that time was to produce one chapter like it. Now, if it was something really feasible and possible, they would have done it. They had a need to fight and to defeat Islam then, because Islam that the Prophet was preaching threatened their whole way of life, threatened the community, their worship of their idols. Mecca was to become the center of idolatry, which made the tribes guarding the haram, guarding the masjid, very rich as intermediaries between those who came from the north and the south, tradesmen who earned a lot of money. So the idea that Allah being one threatens that overall situation. And Allah says elsewhere in the Quran, for example, Surah Ma'idah, if you call them to what Allah and His Messenger revealed, they will say, what we found our parents doing is sufficient for us. So what we find there is that they were, they would not come to the Quran and Sunnah, they were not interested in it, they would try to put their fingers in their ears, etc., to avoid hearing it, because they knew really it was something superior to what they had. And they loved the writings and prose, poetry, type of thing. So much so that they even made 7 of them, and had them inscribed in gold and hung on the Kaaba. It became an object of worship for them. So believe that were it possible, people would have done it a long time ago. Our next question is, Allah spoke to Musa directly. Some deviant sects interpret this the other way around. How did this deviation occur? The other way around. When we said Allah spoke to Moses directly, they turned the way that Moses spoke to Allah directly. Is that what you mean? Well, not really. The idea of Allah speaking to Prophet Moses, this was an aspect of revelation. Allah spoke to the other prophets, but the main way in which revelation came to Prophet Moses was through direct revelation, as opposed to utilizing the angel Gabriel. Now, for those who say that Moses spoke to Allah and Allah didn't speak to Moses, Prophet Moses, of course they have deviated, because the Quran, firmly establishes that Allah did speak, in fact, to Moses. Those who try to deny it are, in fact, trying to deny some aspect of the Sunnah of the prophets of the past and the Sunnah of our final prophet. That is their way of life. You cancel that out. It's not important, because really God didn't speak to him directly. Whatever communication took place was between Moses and God. He communicated his will to God. Then that makes Moses, for example, no different from the rest of the people, who talk to God in their prayers all the time. So there's nothing special about that. What made Prophet Moses special was that God spoke to him directly. Now, what is the view of Islam regarding housewarming parties? Housewarming parties. Well, this is a natural, normal practice in a number of cultures, where people, when they move into a new place, they invite people to share in the blessing of this place. No harm, as long as people don't give it religious connotations, that this is something they must do, something particularly pleasing to Allah, etc., etc. No, then this now may enter into the realm of bid'ah or innovation. But otherwise, we don't call this innovation. It's just a norm. If a person just does it on occasion, nothing wrong with it. But of course, again, we should also be careful about what takes place there. If people are playing music and dancing and going through all these kind of changes, then of course it becomes forbidden. Is tweezing the eyebrows just the area above the nose bridge, I guess, allowed for ladies? As someone told me, it's allowed on the whole bridge, as long as you don't totally change its shape. Well, this is not really permissible. Plucking of any kind is forbidden. I mean, with the exception where a woman's, for example, eyebrows go right across and they're very heavy, and it distorts her look, making her look more manly, etc. In such circumstances, she may, remove some of the hair in between to let herself look a little more feminine. This is permissible. But as a general principle, saying it's okay if everybody, they can just, pluck whatever is here, no. One may use some kind of dye, and they have this peroxide, which takes the color out of the hair, so in which case it would not be that visible. We can use that instead of clipping or cutting, since that may lead people into misguidance. Another question. Islam is the same religion as was taught by Moses and Jesus. How could you explain this when you are talking to the Christians? You can explain this easily by showing that they all share a number of fundamental beliefs. Now, where did this come from? They're all the same in that essence. However, the concept of God amongst Christians and Jews have been distorted, whereas that context has been clearly protected in Islamic texts, etc. The Quran speaks very highly about the Quran, etc. But it speaks also about the Injil and the Torah in very positive terms also, that this is part of the revelation and we have to believe in it. However, it has become distorted. They changed it with their own hands. And with that, dear viewers, we'd like to thank you for being with us in this segment of our program, In the Light of Islam. And we hope that you'll continue to follow the program throughout the rest of the year. And I hope to hear from you by mail, email, snail mail, that is one that you write and send in the envelopes, or faxes, or if you just call in, we're glad to try to answer your questions. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.